Okay, everybody, welcome to the first Dog Brothers Martial Arts Association podcast. Today I have the founder, Guru Mark Crafty Dog Denny, with us, and Guru Guard Dog Ryan Gruen with us. This is our stumbling through our inaugural episode.
I think one of the coolest parts about this is since day one with dogbrothers.com and having the forums and whatnot, Guru Crafty's always been really active. And everybody that's been part of the forums has seen that. And what I kind of see with these podcasts is it's the next step in evolution of making sure that everybody within Dog Brothers, stays in communication. And I think it's just one heck of an awesome opportunity to have, Guru Crafty. We got the webcam rocking and we got him on screen, and being able to get stuff from him is just going to be enormous.
I'm a low-tech kind of guy, but so I'll be experiencing what all this is about. For me, it's kind of the story will tell itself. This is a new thing for me. Bob just walked me through getting connected to all of this. I did my usual temper tantrum when dealing with technology, and here we are. My children laugh at me.
Okay, Guru Crafty, can you please let us know what your vision was initially for the Dog Brothers Martial Arts Association, and how has the association helped you make that a reality? I know we're still in the process of that, but let's hear a little bit more about your vision for this. Where are we going?
Well, the association's been in place probably since about 2002. I'd have to look that up to make sure. And we serve as in a very low-key way for about 12 years or so. And I had a lot, good loyal following of people. It wasn't publicized much. Good conversation and so forth. Due to my technological limitations, wasn't really able to manifest what I wanted to with vid lessons and so forth. And then a year ago, brought Bob on board, and we dramatically expanded the capabilities of the association. And so the new era has really been what I've had in mind all along. This is really where the main focus of my teaching is now. What I do is too distinctive, I think, to support a school in one neighborhood. And, with the wonders of technology, able to reach out to a worldwide community of people with this interest, with this passion. And so it's possible for me now to have pretty much weekly vid lessons. We miss a week here or there. But in all of the three areas of the system, the real contact stick fighting, the Kali Tudo, and the die less often. And by having these vid lessons, it means I can have something that can be 5, 10, 15 minutes or whatever, and I can put it out. Whereas if I'm doing a DVD, that becomes a major project. Considerable amounts of money, time, and effort. The standard that I believe that we've set over the years with Dog Brother DVDs, with DBMA DVDs, is pretty high, and I don't want people thinking, it's deteriorating. But that standard means that I haven't been able to put out little small things that are also, I think, of interest. And so now with this, just putting out the small things, so for example, me working with professional MMA fighters, one of whom is now in the UFC, Pedro Munoz, in the Kali Tudo, working with Frankie McRae, the camp that we held a few years ago at his gun range just outside of Fayetteville. All these things, and it becomes possible to be both much more casual in what we shoot, because it's just a vid lesson, so that keeps the expenses down, and that means there's all kinds of things that we can get into that I think are of real interest to people. And so the association is really allowing me to do that, and of course there's always the forum where I'm always available. And we have a very strong group of people who contribute. This is not just about Guru Crafty pontificating. There's a real group effort and a lot of people with varied backgrounds contributing to the conversation, and I'm very pleased with the way it's going.
Look, it looks like one of the oldest topics on the public forum, at least, dates back to June of 2003. So talk about a wealth of knowledge, not only on the public forum, which people can access for free, but also inside the members forum, dating all the way back over a decade of material that has already been archived, and it's easily searchable and whatnot. So
yeah, that's a very good point. So I'll take 2003 as the starting point. And something that we do both on the public forum and the association forum is that we organize things. The threads are organized. People, so for example, if the discussion's about Collie Tudo, they go to the Collie Tudo thread, or they'll go to the dog catcher in the context of Collie Tudo. And so this means that somebody can use the search function to find a particular subject matter and see the development and the evolution of it literally over many years. And so it becomes a very powerful research tool. We do this, I've not really discussed the content of Dog Brother Martial Arts on the public forum. That's more, martial art chit chat, an announcement of the seminar, that kind of a thing. But the essence of the system's not really on you need to join the association for that. But the public forum as well is organized by this thread content. Right? For example, on the public forum, we discuss concepts of crime and punishment. So, someone who's looking for that, they go to that particular thread, and just instead of just having this splatter of different threads, that just make it very tedious for someone to wade through, and so basically people don't. This way, you can follow the subject and its development over time.
And that's another chunking information is another goal that we have. The way Mark has broken up the system into the three major areas, that's also what we do when we're continuously adding content rather than putting out a product and it's done. Technically, this is never finished. It's always evolving. We're always adding new material to it. And that's the whole point, is that it's an alive thing. Things are constantly, I know that's a taboo buzzword based on some stuff that happened at one point, but this is an alive thing. It's a growing organization. It will never be finished. And that is the whole point. It will constantly evolve.
Yeah, Bob, bringing up the whole idea of that chunking information, I got to give you props. You've done an extraordinary job actually getting all the videos to, again, be searchable. Just the other day, I wanted to teach the 7 ranges, for example, and I thought, what video was that in? And I started thinking back to my VHS tapes of which one it was and whatnot. And I stopped that immediately and said, I'm just going to look on the association. And it was easily searchable. I found it within a few minutes. That, like I said, I got to give you props for being able to make that so easily searchable, as Guru was saying with the threads within the forum.
Yeah. Also, I mentioned that one of the things that we offer in the association is we have the fights from the open gatherings, and the way Bob has it set up, each fight has its own little individual thing for comments. So if we have a member who was fighting at the gathering, he can get my individualized analysis of the fight, and right there, and we can have a conversation right there concerning that particular fight. This is the kind of thing that people are fighting at a gathering find very valuable. A girl lonely dog drops by sometimes and participates in the commentary there. So what Bob has brought to things, I think, is really helping manifest the vision.
Yeah, resident nerd on board here. And just to clear it up,
and a screamador.
Well, I also train, in case anybody doesn't know that, and I've been a fan of Dog Brothers for a very long time. I still think that first tape series, that's one of my favorite, especially the power tape, is one of my favorite sets of videos. They were VHS when I first saw them.
1993 that came out.
Of all time, yeah, and I had them pretty early, and they're awesome. I love
And
them.
they're still selling, I might add. I mean, how many instructional videos have you ever seen that are selling 22 years later?
Unreal.
They're tight. They're really tight. And
and if I may, pat myself on the back. Back then, there was no digital editing. I had an SVHS system, so anytime I wanted to insert something new in a particular, like it might have been at minute 3 and I had 40 minutes after it, I still had to redo everything that came after what I inserted. And that was the year that my knee was broken, so I had extra time, and all my frustrated physical energy went into editing, particularly that first tape. And, I was doing things there that people like, you can't do that. And, I actually going back to the mid 80s, back when I was with Paul Bunak, he and I were riding along, and he's discussing they think they're going to block a knife cut and, then punch back or something. And they just don't understand. So I said, well, let's have them understand. Let's put up a piece of, like a pig leg or something, and cut it and let them see what a knife can do. He says, we can't do that. And I said, why not? And, so that's where actually it was, I think it was either, I forget whether there's a pig or a sheep leg that he hung up there in his garage, and he took out it was a Spyderco knife back then. That was then the cutting edge technology in knives. And he put some cuts into it and showed people just how deep that went. And so when I was doing the first series in the real contact stick fighting, I had that footage of the man apes from 2001. I had which was, a very concrete expression of all the evolutionary psychology, evolutionary biology theory within the dog brother philosophy. I had that footage of the Surma warriors having their stick fight. That's southwestern Ethiopia. Having a very serious staff fight to win a woman who had wonderful breasts. But just again illustrating the themes and the reality that Eric and I felt was random in its appearance in the Filipino martial arts as it was then being practiced. And so also the interviews. Sort of the fighters, why do you do this? And because with the dog brother values of no judges, no referees, no trophies, it calls a different kind of man to do the fighting. Or now we have some women doing it as well. But back then it was certainly an all male thing.
Well, let me give you kudos.
So, just the effort that I put into that edit, that was pretty much a year, working in this very efficient technology. You are so blessed, Bob, to have all this digital stuff.
Well, let me clear something up on that topic. I actually have worked with film, with scissors, and tape.
Okay.
And
there you go.
And I the edits that I did back in the 90s, I had VCRs set up, and you had to punch edits in and do all that. That, ladies and gentlemen, is known as linear editing. The stuff we're doing now is non-linear editing. In other words, you can move things around all you want like puzzle pieces. Back then, it really sucked. And my stuff from the early 90s did not look like what Mark did. It really was very difficult to do a quality product back then. So believe me, I understand the work that went into that, and that's part of why I think it's awesome. And the other thing that brings it full circle to where we're going with this, I 100% understand what Mark said when he said that was his original vision, because I saw that vision in those tapes. Now, we actually can do that. We can put up one fight, a searchable fight, find that fight, and talk about that fight, and analyze that fight, bring that knowledge back into a system in a very efficient way, and work on the material. So we're using the tools how they're supposed to be used, not just because they're cool. And I like to nerd out as much as anybody else, probably a lot more than anybody else. But the whole point is to use these tools to improve ourselves and to improve the art and make everything better for everybody and easier and more accessible. And I think now we're moving into that point where 20 years ago, those tapes, they were already there, and they still hold up to this day. But what's kind of fun now is now new blood can be cultivated and be brought in, and we can bring it up to speed and analyze it. And just as back then when I was newer to this, I was still a Taekwondo back in, I started with all of this stuff in 92. So I found the Dog Brother stuff pretty early on this journey. But as a new guy looking at this, I kept hearing, well, this is probably what happened, or when you do this, this is what they're going to do. This is what's going to happen if the guy does that. We were standing there doing a lot of drills. The Dog Brothers is the first time I was like, holy, did you see how hard he just swung that stick? I can't block that.
If I may jump in here. When the videos first came out, no one had ever heard of the Dog Brothers. No one had ever heard of Eric Knaus. And I had then the way it worked was Panther Productions was the dominant force in martial art instructional video, and they had anywhere between 4 and 8 pages of advertising in every magazine. There were many magazines back then. It was before the internet. You had Black Belt as the dominant one, Inside Kung Fu, Inside Karate. I'm forgetting some of the other ones, but it was like that. And so the pictures that were part of the advertisements were very traditional martial arts and crafts kinds of pictures. And then there was the picture of Eric looming over me, clearly about to smash me as my knee shot had failed. And Panther had this thing, buy 5 tapes and get 1 free. And so Joe put our ad right next to the ordering form, and we were right there. So people, they bought their 5 tapes, and what free one should I get? Well, Joe had brutal real stick fights, and so he put that next to the order form, and people started, a few people started getting it, and then they had that whoa kind of a moment, and word began to spread, and so that actually put us in a very interesting position, in that we were never indebted to the magazines. Whereas there was another company that said, well, if you do a video for us, we'll put you on the cover, but then we get all the revenues, or, something like that. Terrible deal. And we just never had to do that. Our audience is indigenous to us. We didn't need anybody else to get our traction.
I still remember what it felt like. People forget today because they have access to see these things now. Back then, that did not exist. We sparred and we did things, but nobody was doing it like that. At least not anywhere you could see it. They were all in back rooms, and it was this group of guys who were rocking it like that. And wow, we started trying it right away, and I got creamed. Like, it really sucked. The first time I tried to do anything with my training partner, he thrusted me in the throat. I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. I don't know what I'm doing. Like my collie doesn't work. Oh my God, it was awful. But it was a wake-up call.
Hey, to bring that back around to the, back to the association, I think that's, you kind of have the two groups of people. The people that think all Dog Brothers martial arts is that. And then you have the people that say, well, I just want to train all the moves, and unfortunately, I think some people have thought that all of it is the fighting, and Bob Briggy getting stabbed in the throat, and,
This is really a very, very good point that Ryan's bringing up here, is the system is for walk as a warrior for all your days, and not everybody should be real contact stick fighting. And, I remember a story that Guru Asano would tell from time to time of when he was in the Army. What was it, the 101st Airborne or the 82nd Airborne or something?
Sounds right.
At Fort Campbell in Kentucky, I think it was. And he spoke about how there were guys in the boxing program who just were very brave in the ring, but when it came time to crawl under the barbed wire with the live bullets flying overhead, that they were in condition brown. And so what I take from that is people are brave in different ways. And there's a certain transferability, I think, that if you know how to, if you have experience operating in the adrenal state, that should help you in whatever the trigger for the adrenal state is. But the courage it takes to do what we do is different than the courage of policemen going into an abandoned building knowing that there's somebody bad in there, or the courage that it takes to ride in a Humvee knowing that there's IEDs on the road. There's all kinds of courage, and what we do is just one aspect of it. So we don't look down on people who don't do real contact stick fighting. It is for everyone. And for someone who's a practitioner who wants to be able to handle himself as he walks as a warrior for all his days to defend his family, or just himself as he goes around, or an innocent person in need of help, training in a system that's regularly being seasoned and tested, and alongside people who are doing the fighting, there's a value to just being a training partner to someone who is fighting, who is getting ready for a fight. And just the feel of it, and the certain mindset that goes with how do we extract value from the art. I think that's an important point, that we are for everyone, all ages, men, women, young, old, so forth.
I 100% agree with that. It shouldn't be. There is that, oh my God, they're just the guys who hit each other. No, it's much deeper than that. There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, sometimes what happens is people say, oh, the Dog Brothers, it's the basics, crude, simpler, they're just tough guys, and, this and that. And as a teacher, the logic of how I like to begin and progress things is I like to say primal probabilities first. And so, Bruce Lee spoke of the three most common errors in martial arts: trying to impress yourself, your opponent, and the audience with what you know. And so, what is the thing that everybody does with a stick or a club? They do a caveman strike. And so you see some people coming into the Filipino martial arts, and there's this, on some level, conscious decision to not ever use a power-crazed caveman strike, because that's what an untrained person does. But when people get to fighting for real, you will see powerful caveman strikes as part of the fight. And if you can't deal with that, you can't deal with that. You can't get to the rest of it. And so, we want to make sure that people understand, the basics of power and, moving your feet while you're moving your weapon. And this is, one of the easiest ways to tell whether somebody has a fighter's understanding or not. Is he standing there in training just blazing his stick, but his feet aren't moving? That's a pretty good clue that he doesn't have much experience. And there becomes a real ego challenge in slowing your stick down to the speed of your feet. In a certain sense, the speed of the fight is the speed of your feet. If somebody's blazing his stick and all I have to do is step away 1 foot and he can't reach me, well, then I've just negated all of that training. And so for people who have been impressing themselves with look at how well I've learned to blaze the stick, but then the fight moves and they can't bring the fight to the opponent, you have to slow the stick down to the speed of your feet, what we sometimes call the one-for-one relationship. It begins with one step for every block or strike. You also, as you begin to understand the reality of things, you understand that you need to have the movements, what we call the snake, that connect all the strikes and the blocks. And, the movement before, when the sticks aren't hitting each other, when you aren't hitting the opponent, when you're... Grandmaster Ramiro Estelillo of the Cabaroan system said to me, I was explaining my concept of the 7 ranges to him. He said, the first range, what we call snake range, he said, oh, the psychological range. And I thought that was a very perceptive name. His name for it is very perceptive. There's all that moving. And for the same reason that Bruce Lee put the strong side forward, which was to dominate the moment of contact, you dominate the moment of contact by what you're doing in the moments immediately prior to the moment of contact. And so just that idea and that way of moving. So when I see somebody moving a stick, I can tell whether they have those understandings or not. And for someone who's a practitioner, just being around these understandings and having them part of the training process, I think is of great utility in preparing people to be functional should it ever be necessary.